Hi there, user Identity Born on the forum and all the rest of you good people out there. Regarding your question on an unparameterized body that needs to be modified, there are some ways of doing that. You prefer to do it in a sketch environment. I think I have a little bit of different approach to it, and I would like to introduce that. I'm going to do the sketch in addition, but firstly I'm going to do the synchronous modeling, so I'll leave the sectional editing to as a cliffhanger, if you like. Okay, let's kick this off. So we have this body here representing kind of a blank in a stamping tool. We would like to modify this. We would like to modify it in the sense that this radii, we don't know what it is currently, but it's supposed to be 50. We need to raise this top here 30 millimeters up. Since this face here, the top face here, is a single face, there are no face edges here. This might be a little bit tricky to do. But let's see what we can do about it, and let's kick this off. So I start by copying the original body for reference and for analyze purpose. So I will start by analyzing the top face there for radii, and it will show me where the radii stop and change. So what is magenta down here seems to be a planar face. The blue is one radii, or actually the two sides, seems symmetrical even. And the top yellow face here seems to be a cylindrical face with a specific radii as well. Now, with that said, let's move that to a layer that we will not change. We can touch it for selectional purposes, and we're going to divide that face along those edges, if you like, or the analyze transitional areas there, where it transitions from magenta to blue, blue to yellow, etc. I will do this by extracting isoparametric curves. I will do it from the top face, and I say that somewhere around that area, somewhere around that area, somewhere around that and that area, we want those isoparametric curves. So reference we hide. Now that we will divide, we will divide the top surface with those isoparametric curves, and we get something that looks like this. Now all these faces on top there, they have the same full definition as the original face, meaning that they are not lines and arcs, they are simply splines and a little bit more complex surfaces than they need to be. So let's make them analytic. We do that by simply using the Synchronus tools. We're going to use the optimize face. I'm going to grab all of this. Now this will remove the parameter, but this was unparametric from start. I'm going to give the system a little bit of wiggle room here, and let's kick it off. So the isoparametric will fall over there, but that's okay. We will delete that. We don't need that anymore. We will study what happened though. We can see that planar faces in the original model we had 3. Now we have 5. So if I set the selection to 5, we can see 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, and 5. That means that the faces, this one and that one, are now planar. We had from start 0 cylindric faces. We now have 3. Those cylindrical faces would be the top faces here, which would be the ones of interest for our editing change here. Okay, great. The isoparametric curve, as I stated, we don't need that anymore. We delete that. Now, we would like to change this the way we want, of course. We said that, hey, We wanted to resize that blend, and that blend we had the smart selection there, but still we see that it's slightly off with a weird value, 100 point something. We wanted this to be 50. There, now it's 50. We also wanted to move this. Here, this surface, of course it depends on how you want to move it. You could move it with an offset, then it's going to change value, but the thing we want to do was actually move it. So we're going to move it in a specific direction, upwards, and we're going to pull it up 30 millimeters, or actually, let's pull it 140 millimeter. That will be fine. So now there is your change. Of course, you can do this in a sectional matter as well. So let's see if we can do that as well. Let's bring back the original, and let's actually act on the original. So we will say that we can now modify layer 10. So let's see if we would want to do this in a sectional matter then. Well, firstly, I need the curves. So let's bring out those curves. Let's hide the original. So, well, we did, but the body is still there. So here we now have curves. And these curves, let's see here now. Analyze this curve. There is. We can see that it's a spline of a composite curve. We need this to be lines and arcs. And in order to make them lines and arcs, you can use some options here. Mr. Bardsey here explained one way. This would be the other one, or another way of doing it, in order to get more precise what you want. So I will actually divide this curve first, and I will use a trim curve to do that. I will divide this curve somewhere along here, but before I do that, I actually need an analyze on that curve. So I'm going to add a show comb on that, because it will show me where the curvature changes. Now we'll move back to that trim curve, and I will divide it. Let's see here now. That point, that point, that point, that point. And along those curves, we say OK. So we now have a trim curve here. We can hide the analyze curve there. And we can see that they are now segmented, which is good. But we can also see that each segment here is a spline curve. We do not want spline curves. We actually want lines and arcs. So with the optimized curve, we will transform them into what they are supposed to be. We project that to kind of a plane there, and we give that a decent wiggle room there. Let's say 1 for now. Now 1 seems big, but it's gonna. You can see already here that it's tried to fit with system. The underlying system tolerance here, and so we say OK to that, yes, and we can now see that if I edit that sketch here, we can see that that is now an arc, that is now an arc, that is an arc, that's a line and a line, and we can now go about and do our change. So one of our changes was that we needed to let's see here now. We want to move those curves, let's say. Let's say we want to move those curves, and we want to move them up 140 something, 145 or what I don't remember. So there we are. Now I could change the radii here as well. I'm not quite sure that they are well, they are not tangent at the moment, so I will make them tangent. That guy and that guy will be tangent. That guy and that guy will be tangent, and that guy and that guy will be tangent. There we go. So we can now add a value to that and say 50. We can also say that we apply that, those two are going to be equal. Finish. So that should be our change, and we should say that we are happy with that, and we say home, and we are happy with that. Now we have original here. Either I do a new extrusion there. If I for some reason have a lot of features depending on this one, I could of course create a new one. Let's do that. Let's do tangent curves. Let's do big enough. And we could simply use the Synchronus tools here again, and we could use replace. So I'm going to replace that with that. And we say OK to that. And there we have our change on the original body. Now, this will conclude what I wanted to show, and I hope it helps you in your future endeavors. And with that, I'm going to leave you. So all you good people out there, stay safe, stay healthy, and until next time, take care. Bye for now.